That's right. I'm your host, Jimmy Palumbo, coming to you live from downtown Mawa, here from the shitty kitchen studios here at my garden apartment here at Shea. All fans 18 and over get a free housebreaking wee-wee pan courtesy of Puppy City, Ralph Avenue, and Avenue J, along with my co-host, Chris Gucci, coming to you from downtown Matawan. Of course, Chris Gucci, how we doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm stressed out. All things considered, the Packers got beat in the final moments of the Packers game, eliminated from the playoffs, but I'm handling it the best that I've ever handled the end of a season in my entire life. I think I've turned a new corner.
We will certainly, in our little NFL section of the show, we will certainly cover that as my football Giants take on the Vikings this Sunday in a huge playoff game for me. It's been a while. But this is show number 96, Christopher. And, of course, there are no Yankee players ever who wore the number 96. So if I was an agent and some young kid, I'm like, dude, take 96. It's yours. If you become a stud, no one has it. It could be Ruthian. But, of course, I can mention Barry Cofield, defensive lineman on the Giants back in the day, or Clyde Simmons, of course, another great player. But you know what? I'm not going to do that. Because last week we went with the 95 Yankees, right? Because it was devastating. They lost. And how could we do the 95 Yankees, then move on to show 96 and not do the 96 Yankees? Now, it's not like me to do that, but we're in the 90s now, and there's all kinds of fun things there. First of all, I'm going to go with, of course, the 96 Yankees. And here's why. It was the first World Series in my adulthood. We cover this all the time. The first time you can go out and go to bars and talk shit with your friends. That's always a cool time. It was an amazing playoff run. You know, they were down 0-2 to the Braves, came back, won the thing 4-2.
Jim Leyritz, which we're not allowed to talk about Jim Leyritz anymore, but
we can't do that. But we are tied. Famous call by Buck, I guess. And the Yankees finished 92-70 in 96. The team had Girardi, Boggs, Mario Duncan, Jeter, Raines, Bernie, Paul O'Neill, Ruben Sierra the first time, Leyritz. Pitching, you had Pettit, Rogers, Gooden, Key, David Cohn. Pretty cool staff. Relief pitcher, you had Mariano was your seventh and eighth inning guy. And, of course, Wetland was your closer. In the beginning of the year, Mariano wasn't so great, but I don't recall him. I don't think anybody got a hit off him from like August on. His ERA was like 2.3 or something like that. And Wetland's ERA was very good. He was tough. He was a classic good closer, Wetland was. Now I think he's a creep. He's in jail, but that's another story. We beat Texas first round, 3-1. All the games were close. I completely forget that series. Couldn't tell you one thing about it other than Yankees won. The second series, Baltimore, the games were close, but it's famously known for the Jeffrey, I guess his name is Jeffrey Maher, which will have something to do with our guest in a little bit. He reached over, and if you watch the highlights now, not only was they changed the rule, like he clearly, it was an out. There's no doubt about it. Like the Jeter mystique was born by that 10-year-old kid. He reached way over. The ball is going right into that guy's glove. Everybody's
it
yelling.
It certainly didn't hurt, but Jeter did a lot to earn it.
No. I'm saying start of the mystique, for sure. And it was totally illegal. And then we're down. I didn't realize we got beat 12-1 in game one against it. And then we lost 4-0. So we had 18 innings. We had one run. Steinbrenner was probably going to fire Joe Torre. He's pissed off. And supposedly, as the quote goes, Joe Torre said, we'll go back. We'll go to Atlanta. This can't be true. He just said, we'll go to Atlanta, sweep 3. We'll come back and win it here. He said it very casually. No way he believed it. Probably just coach talk to somebody. And you know what? They swept them. Leyritz hit a big 3-run home run. They ended up winning. Now, the weird thing is, it was exciting for me, but oddly, where I watched that game, I was actually in Seattle. I was doing a radio campaign for Washington Mutual Bank, and they flew me out there to do a radio spots. And I was hanging out with my Aunt Doris Gaudette and my young niece cousins and Megan and Gavin. And they realized I was like, when you're like, hey, I know we're hanging out, but like it was 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I'm like, and they live in a gorgeous, like $10 million house. It's awesome. And I'm like, hey, I know we have maybe dinner plans, but around 5:00, why don't we do a lunch? Because I'm like, how do you tell someone like in Seattle that like, hey, there's a really big thing going on at 5:00? Because you can't be disrespectful.
Hey, I mean, at that time though, Seattle was still relevant. I think they were even a playoff team in '96.
Yeah, but it was still, they don't understand. Like,
yeah, I get it.
How do you tell? You're staying at someone's house. You're like, hey, I know this is a big house, but I need a room with a television that has Fox, and I don't really want to you don't even have to come in the room with me, that kind of thing. This is before the internet, so you had to it was old school television. But she beat me to it. My Aunt Doris was like, well, Jimmy, isn't it like game 6 tonight? Don't you want to watch the Yankees? I was like, yes, I do. So we all watched it together. The little kids were running around. They had no clue. And I called my dad afterwards, and calling him from Seattle. It was cool. So that's where I watched the 96 Yankee World Series, not with my friends, but with my family in Seattle. And it was fun to watch. So now 96, who do you got?
Well, I mean, after all that, I mean, I think we should have probably learned our lesson from previous episodes. And if you have a whole montage and a monologue to do, I should probably go first because I got Cortez Kennedy. And he's just the coolest.
That's great. But see, actually, no, yours is better than mine. Really, in the
realm of what this means, what the show number means, it is the Cortez Kennedy show.
Okay,
probably one of the coolest names. I think he's the best number 96 in the history of the NFL, not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, maybe any sport. 96, really? If you think who's not, there's no 96 anywhere.
Richard Dent's a Hall of Famer, so like you would say, okay. Richard Dent.
That's right.
Gets in, right? But Cortez Kennedy, he was a very good player, and I think team success had a little to do with why he's not given a little more credit playing up there in Seattle. We've been, the theme of the show, Seattle.
But the name Cortez Kennedy.
He used to have the visor that looked like the Charles Oakley sunglasses.
Right.
Yeah, that was the early. Only a Seattle Seahawk could wear.
See, I remember him without knowing who. I remember the visor more than I do. You know what's great about the name Cortez? The name Cortez Kennedy, I think is. Now you're gonna kill me on this. I think that name works in every sport. I don't know if you know what I mean. Like if you're
100%.
It's like if you're a power forward for the Bulls. Down low, Cortez Kennedy's got it. Or if you're
100%,
or even if you're a quarterback for like San Jose State, Cortez Kennedy rolls right, fires over the middle. Or even if you're a fat third baseman on Corona Construction.
There's a character from Workaholics. His name is Cortez, and he's one of the best characters on TV.
Right,
period. You know the guy too. I'm sure you've been in some things with him.
Cortez Kennedy might be like it's part of the name. It's just a cool name. So, all right, 96 Yankees and Cortez Kennedy. I do not have a problem with that. Now, of course, the show starts now, and that's our 96 thing. I can't believe we've done 96 shows. 96 shows, and that'll do it here from the Omni. The big news on the Patreon front. Big news. Now, we were saddled. We were saddled at number 18. Joe Danello. We were at Joe Danello, right? Marty Walczak a couple weeks ago signed up. He was number 18. And out of nowhere, we now have Louis Soho. Louis Soho is now Dick Tidrow, number 19, is coming in. The Patreon growing. I mean, me and Joe Rogan's corner right now is very concerned right now. Very concerned. And it is. I'll read off all the names and I'll finish with number 19, who it is. And you may know him as well. All right. Number 1, Alex Stetson, Ramsey guy. My sister, Mary Eileen. Big George Demosi coming out of Colonia. My mom, my cousin Joey. Rob Pastor, Kappa Sig from the 80s at Rutgers getting involved. Website guy, James Kanowitz, who's got a really cool podcast called The Fletchcast. Check that out. My nephews, Jimmy, John Henry, and Eric. Of course, we got Michael Caprio on the cornholelevel.com situation over there. My brother, of course, the CFO of this whole situation, Darryl Clark, big-time Louisiana LSU Saint fan. He's miserable right now, but don't worry, LSU will win everything very soon, I believe. Greg Castellino, Colonia boy. Mike Shecky, the Dolphins suck. Lawler is getting involved, coming in at 15. Dave Ben at 16, only man I went to school with for 16 years, however long it is. Pat Volkemer, Dallas Cowboy fan. Marty Walczak, Colonia boy. And coming in at number 19, he's known more in my world as Alphonse. Perhaps he's known more as the Guido. Perhaps he's known more as the guy with the Italiano mitt. That's right. Michael DiGioacchino from Beer League joins Patreon late last night, and we were running lines for the thing we're shooting tomorrow. And next thing you know, he hits a big three. I didn't know anything about it. It just popped up on my screen. I'm like, my boy. So he signs up, number 19. So we are at Dick Tidrow and Louis Soho. Sam Grasso hopping in over here with some. I'm wearing this Corona construction hat for a reason, my friend, because in the stuff we're shooting tomorrow, I wore this hat in Beer League, and I will be wearing this hat tomorrow at the bar where we shoot our stuff tomorrow all day long. Should be exciting. So anyway, we'll get to that in a second. Patreon.com. Google the Jimmy Palumbo Show. Sign up for any tier you want. A lot of fun. I have fun with your name. I'll read it every week. I'll say whatever you want. Doesn't matter. And we are now at 19. So exciting, Chris. We're just rolling along here.
I've got to be honest,
great.
though. Look, you're putting together a little DiMaggio type hitting streak where it's been
streak here,
a little streak. You know, you might be solid like gold since December 1st.
To Dave Ben, Volkemer, Marty Waltzak. I mean, there's like the base hits off the wall here. I don't even know what tier he signed up, nor do I care what tier you signed up. I just think it's great. You're supporting the show here from the Omni. Also, my Beer League hits on Instagram. God bless, man. 1.6 million now. It's getting involved, and it's about to get even bigger. Coming up very, very soon. So please go on my Instagram. We also got on Facebook. You got to sign up for the Beer League 2 thing on Facebook. Click it, support it. I'm going to start putting all videos on there. And we haven't figured out how we're going to launch this Beer League thing, but it looks like it's going to be maybe 5 or 6 shorts that are going to lead everybody along. And then at the end, it'll be one big short film, and then we go from there. But all this is going to be released probably around pitchers and catchers, about mid-February. We got to edit it and do that. But we're going to be doing all kinds of promotions tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun seeing the cast. And we think we got something pretty funny here. But, until it's done and edited, you just don't know, man. I don't know how many people will really get a kick out of Beer League 2. It's not really Beer League 2. It's just like Beer League Revisited, really, is what it is. But the only way to call it is
put it this way:
it
could lead to a Beer League 2. You just don't know.
It could. We're working on. Funny thing is about we'll get to Beer League. I got a section here we're going to dedicate to Beer League, so we'll get to that in a second. Even though we should talk about it now, which means, of course, so do the TikTok, Twitter. Which brings us to the sponsor of all sponsors, Absolute Eyewear, getting involved here. 42 Main Street, Woodbridge, New Jersey, 732-326-3937. Chris, 732-326.
Eyes.
Look at that. The timing couldn't be better right there. Full service opticians, Craig and Johnny Mashaw out of Woodbridge, down by the train station. Go check them out. They got everything full service. They got a optician on site. They do your glasses. They make sure, even if you got, if you go there, even if you got shitty glasses that you buy, like I do, right? They go in there. They make sure they fit. It's not like you buy them off the rack at Walgreens. They make sure they fit. They got the right styles. They look at your face. They know what's going on. And they got all kinds of, listen, they got Ray-Ban, Coach, Ralph Lauren, Jimmy Choo, Silhouette, Michael Kors, Vogue, Maui Jim, Costa Del Mar, and Charles Oakley.
We're both thinking of jokes in real time that we could insert into this that only we will get.
Yes, we could.
And
yes, they got glasses for every budget, including mine. And they got $100 off a complete pair if you mention the Jimmy Palumbo Show. That's right. 16 or 18 years in business now.
If you mention the premier streaming network.
Yeah, mention that too. See what you get. And you get also, they're open 5 days a week. They're closed Wednesday.
That would be because of softball.
And they're closed on Sunday.
That would be because of giant football. Still giant
there you
football.
Go, football giants.
One more
still
Sunday.
Giant football here. And we are in January, which is rare. Anyway, Absolute Eyewear getting involved here from the Omni. Now, all right, I want to talk about a little Rutgers here. Rutgers basketball, what a wild week. They beat Purdue, right, which was cool. And then they beat Maryland. Maryland's really not that good. And then, boy, I was Sunday morning, noon game, all excited, playing Iowa. And I think the Rutgers fan base is the dumbest fan base, including myself. All of a sudden, I'm reading the paper like Rutgers could win the Big Ten. We're doing this. And all of a sudden, the game started. And I see that Coach McCaffrey on the sidelines. He's like that big square-headed guy. who's been coaching, I think, since 1904, right? He's sitting there and he looked really calm. The rack is going crazy at the start of the game. And he's like, and I'm looking at him, then I realized, wow, wait a minute. This coach coached against Peichel when Peichel was a player. How crazy is that? And I'm like, everybody's like, yeah, Iowa's off this year. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's Iowa. There's no such thing. Like Iowa basketball, there's no such thing as Iowa being off. It's fucking Iowa. And man, did they bitch slap us. Even though we cut the game, we cut it to 5 at one point. It was like 5 going on 30.
I would imagine
They
Iowa's
hit all their
basketball
shots.
team is the exact same thing as their football team, where it's like they're never really the best, but they're going to be good every year.
Yeah, and you can't
play
say
defense.
Like,
they probably play great defense.
They play defense. They're well coached. They like the Rutgers defense was sliced and and then of course they
got
hit
a bunch
their
of
shots,
like 3 and 4 year starters, players on their team.
Yes,
into their
and one of them's the coach's son. Of course, his younger son had some anxiety and depression issues. Has to sit down. Hope he's going to do okay. And Peichel and the Rutgers basketball team did a nice thing. They gave him a card, signed a card, went over to the bench. Peichel always handles that stuff right, but man, we got smoked. Which lets you know, I'm not saying the Big Ten's the best in the country, but it like the Big Ten schedule is like, I don't care how good you are. Like, you know, we got to play Ohio State. And so like they don't want to play us, and we never want to play any of those teams. Even like Northwestern's a pain in the ass at home. Everybody's good at home. So it's a bad loss for Rutgers. You lose your home game. It sucks. But you know what? It's Iowa. They lost. They're in the top 35, and they still have a shot at the, you know, they're online to get a bid. But I worry about this team. Sometimes we just can't put the bucket in the hoop, and it's called basketball, and we struggled last year with it. We don't have a pure scorer, and our defense wins the game for us. But if the other teams, I think if the other team shoots above their shooting average, we're going to lose every time. We just can't compete with that. My Knicks, they won 4 in a row, and typical. When I don't watch the Knicks, they win. Now they beat the bad teams. The Knicks are one of this is who I think the Knicks are. Okay. The Knicks are the team that they beat the shitty teams, and then they never beat the really good teams. And then they just do like okay against that like 3rd through 9 seed. Like they split those games, which means right now they're the 7th seed. And I'm guessing the Knicks will probably finish 7th or 8th seed and have to play the Nets or somebody really good team. But they had Milwaukee last night.
So if they're the
Bucks are good though.
8-9. Isn't there 2 play-ins though? Don't they do the NBA different now? Where if like even if they're the 7th seed, they got to still win a game to get in or some shit. I don't know how that works, but yeah,
I don't know. I don't follow that at all.
They don't want to play the Nets.
I just know,
Jimmy, does it really matter if they have to play any of the teams in the top 4?
Well,
in the East,
top 4,
Celtics.
Yes,
Celtics, Bucks, Nets.
But if you're the 4th seed, even though you're pretty good, odds are you might be you're not having the awesome year.
Philly would be Philly would probably be like the 4th seed.
I know, but you know what? I'd rather play Philly than like one of those other teams. Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
I agree.
The Knicks have to create a new identity between now and the end of the year. I don't know if they will. But it's like the Knicks had the game last night. The Knicks were beating the Bucks. If it was a boxing match, Knicks won the fight. You know what I mean? But the Bucks, they're the world champs, and these other teams have that little extra gear the Knicks don't have, and they got beat. They played them tough, so I think the Knicks are going to be one of those team playoffs if they make it. Like Knicks are a pain in the ass. We may not sweep this series, or if we sweep, we're going to win by 3 points in every
if I'm
game.
Looking at the East,
so that's it about the Knicks. Now,
the Knicks might not even make it. But moving on, yeah, you're right.
It's possible. No, it's possible.
There's some good teams
now,
that are.
Now, last week, I'm thrilled to death about the Giants. They made the playoffs. It's wonderful. We didn't discuss NFL last week because with the kid having a heart attack, I didn't feel like going there. I just didn't feel like talking about the NFL. Simple.
We didn't even talk about Rutgers basketball.
But it was
last week. And they were they had just beaten Purdue the night before, and we didn't even talk about it.
I think I failed to mention that. I can't believe I did that, which was, of course.
But I think it was more or less we kind of avoided the sports altogether.
You know what? To be honest with you, I didn't even feel like doing the podcast last week. It's like my show isn't all about sports, of course, but it was just whatever. And I got a guest waiting here, so I got to get to him. The Giants. Listen, the game last week. What an awful what an awful day of the NFL in many ways. In many ways, it was awesome because at one point it was the third quarter and like 8 teams were still alive. And then as the fourth quarter came to a close, it was over for a lot of teams. But I just hated the fact that, and there's no way to avoid it. We tried to talk about it off air a little bit. Like the Giants were playing like, I think I had 3 tackles in the game. I took a ride down to Philly. Like, I know you can't avoid it. I think Dable made the right decision. Get your guys out of there. You get yourself ready for the playoffs. Everybody's banged up this time of year. It wasn't like the same shit with the Patriots 10 years ago. I don't know. It was just, I watched some of the other games and the backup quarterbacks were in. It's like, I mean, what a shitty day to gamble. You don't know who's in the game. I do know that the Eagles, though, were full bore, all in. This is why the NFC is so wide. Anybody who thinks the Eagles, like, it's so wide open, it's embarrassing. Like a team like the Packers, your team, thank God they didn't get in. They would have been just as good as anybody, hot as anybody in the playoffs.
I mean, I think that the Packers would have run into San Fran. And I think defense, that's the thing about San Fran. They have such good weapons, and their defense is so good that they translate, I think, no matter what. That's going to be the tough out.
In the last month, the 49ers, the Eagles really haven't played great.
Jimmy, the 49ers were 3-4. They haven't lost.
Right. The 49ers have established themselves. But when you get like a new team, kind of, you never know what happens in the playoffs.
They won 10 in a row.
And the Cowboys just continue. Listen, 49ers are the team to beat. There's no question. The Cowboys had to have this game. They went full in, and they just sometimes stink. Must be frustrating to be a Cowboy fan. Number one, you haven't won since 1996. And the other thing is, you see the weapons. They have it there. Like I'm telling you, if Daniel Jones had the weapons that Cowboys, I think the Giants would have went 13-3. I swear to God. I don't understand why the Cowboys, they have great defensive players, great offensive players. They're poorly coached, I guess. You've been saying that since day one. But I think the Cowboys are one of those teams. If they get going, they can actually win the Super Bowl. I've always said that. They just got weapons. Anyway, I want to talk about the week before, which we couldn't talk about last week. I took my daughter to her first Giant game against the Colts. And boy, what a great game that was. 55 degrees. My daughter's first game. The Colts stink. They are ultimate stink list. They're poorly coached. They stink across the board. And I brought my daughter there. We had an absolute blast. There were so many funny things that happened at the game. Number one, I realized how shitty our seats are. At Rutgers games, we're like on the 40-yard line. The Giants were upper deck. My daughter was like, whoa, Dad, I'm getting a little queasy up here. My cousin John went. I've been going to my games with my cousin John since 1980. And he was sitting there, and my cousin John had some classic lines sitting there. Because at the end of the game, I was like, should we go and just blow out and beat the traffic? And he's sitting back on his haunches, he's like this. And he's like, you know what? We haven't been to a meaningful game like this. He's like, let's enjoy the process. He said it really loud, like other fans heard it, like, I'm going to enjoy we watched the celebration at the end. Like old school Giant fans were hitting the exits. And we're like, no. We're going to enjoy the process here. Simple as that. And guy knocked over his beer, which was, he comes over to me. He goes, imagine it's like $15 for this IPA. I'm like, yeah, that sucks. He puts it down. A guy walks by, knocks it over, and the guy didn't say anything. Like he knew he hit it too. He like, when you did something shit by walking. And so he's looking at me, and I'm like,
I wish I had that in me. Honestly, I wish I could knock somebody's beer over and have it in me to just keep going and not care.
Right? Yeah, you would have lost your mind. And it was just a fun time. It was also, we were looking at too. The awful apparel that the young kids wear for games now. Like in the old days, you just wore your sweatshirt. There was no paraphernalia. And then NFL apparel, right? Everybody saw your Packer jersey, Giant jersey. And then somewhere, like someone smoked acid and decided like there was a Lawrence Taylor jersey that was like cut in half and like with a lightning bolt and it was not even red, blue, and white. It was like, it was an abomination.
I can understand. Anytime you mess with the jersey or the uniform, I have a little bit of an issue. Unless it's something that the team is selling, but some modified jersey. But you gotta think about the pants that they gave out in the 90s, the Zubaz, pants. Like there was some funky things that people were
No
wearing
doubt.
back then.
And
too.
I didn't wear them either. But the ones now, and also the Giants where they sell the stadium's so depressing. It's really the worst stadium in the NFL, worst new stadium anyway. Where they sell the Giant paraphernalia, like I swear, like the girl was wearing like a cowboy shirt.
Like walk into
like
a crypt.
It was like it was dark. There was no, and all their clothes, like there should have been a sign that said, "Please don't buy here. There's better stuff at Kohl's." That's what it should have been at the top of the door. There was like, you know what they had? Like they had like for girls, they had like a pink Giant sweatshirt. Like okay, like every other,
for like $90.
Yeah, for every other team in the NFL. Like let's have a pink one for the ladies. The jerseys was a couple of, but my cousin John had me crying because he said he had bought a Barkley shirt because he went to Penn State, and he was telling me, I don't know if I can make this as funny as he did it to me. But, you know, it's a Giant jersey. It says Barkley on it. He went to Penn State. He's a Giant fan. Perfect, right? So he goes to a Penn State game, right? And he's talking to this big Penn State guy sitting next to him. And he looks at the jersey, okay? This is this year. Guy goes, "Hey, man, wow, like, that's an awesome jersey. Like, where'd you get that?" And my cousin John was like, "Where did I get it?" It's like, it's the NFL jersey, like, of Barkley, the number 2 pick in the draft.
Like anywhere.
It's like, do you have a Marshalls near you? Or it came, it was like, the guy acted like my cousin got this out of like handmade from in Zimbabwe somewhere. Like, my cousin John had to explain to the guy, like, Barkley got drafted too. Like he's popular in the like people in Indiana know who Saquon Barkley is. So I was giggling at it. Plus I was wearing my jerk off red shoes. I bought these red shoes from Skechers, right? They were on sale. I forget how Rutgers red, but I realized they look. If you saw me wearing these, you'd be like jerk off right away. So my cousin John couldn't get over. What are you doing? You're 57 years old. You're wearing bright red shoes. I felt like, you know, who's that guy? White Shoes Johnson back in the day. Even though they were red, it was horrible. And of course, I started my diet. It was January 1st. But we all meet at the Vince Lombardi service area. Okay. I kept on calling it the Louis Lombardi service area from the guy from Beer League and that actor Louis Lombardi. He goes, "Jimmy, why are you calling it Louis Lombardi?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Vince Lombardi." And I got to tell you how stupid I am. I go into the Vince Lombardi service area, and in front of the guy's bathroom is a huge photo of Packer Stadium, the old Packer Stadium, right? And which I was at the last game before they renovated, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
It's Lambeau Field. So
Lambeau
I don't know if you knew that.
Well, I'm saying, again, I made the mistake. Frozen tundra of Lambeau.
We're good.
Jimmy sucks sometimes, and that's a shitty thing I just did. So it's Lambeau.
That is a very.
Although, let me ask you, was it always Lambeau?
In your cap, though, to say that you were at the last game, because I've never been to Lambeau before the renovation. I was there the first year when they started it. So
right. So I'm sitting there, and of course, I forget I'm inside the Vince Lombardi service area, and I'm looking. I'm like, the fuck in New Jersey? Like, what the fuck are they showing this Packer shit? Forgetting. I'm in the Vince Lombardi Museum of the. You know when you're just momentarily stupid? You're like, why are they showing Packer shit in here? And then, because we're at the Vince Lombardi. It would be like being at the John Bon Jovi thing and be like, why do they have this Bon Jovi shit? Like,
why is there a guitar on the wall?
So I'm trying to at the game. Cut my finger here; it's bleeding. At the game, I was good. I didn't have any hot dogs or pretzels. I wanted to start the year off right. Well, inside the Vince Lombardi service area, there's a Shake Shack inside it, brand new. Now, Chris, you know I'm a cockroach. You know I'd be one of the worst mice in. I would run over to the mousetrap, desperately trying to get that cheese out of there. How do you think I made out with the Shake Shack in front of my face with a daughter that was hungry? How did I do?
Well, I mean, now that I hear your excuse, I don't think you made out well.
I didn't make out well. But one
because
thing about me, though,
I would have said, Jimmy, like any other disciplined man would do, is just say, Jimmy, just walk away. But then you had to throw him. And a daughter that was hungry. So it's like, I had to walk up to the counter at least.
One thing about me, though, full commitment. When I go bad, I don't mess around. I got the double Shake Shack.
As you should.
I got the large fry, and then I get the big, large chocolate shake. I went like 7,000 calories. Boom. I threw deep, bro. I'm looking end zone. I got in the car. I wanted to puke on the way home. It was just, I'm like, why couldn't there be like something, anything near healthy? So that on the way home, we had a great time though. And my daughter saw me win a game because I take her to Rutgers games. They always lose. My daughter actually saw my team win. She was thrilled to death. I was like happy for her because she went to the couple of awful football games and a couple of brutal basketball games where they lost. So I feel shitty about that. So, all right. Well, I think we should really quick got to get to my guest, but let me do real quick my NFL stinks list. Sponsored by cornholelevel.com. That's right, Mike Caprio's company. For $19.95, getting involved here. You get these things, Chris. They totally balance your cornhole board, bro. It's the best thing ever. You put it on, you clip them. They're $19.95, 20% off. If you say JP Show, it makes your board angled right, the whole bit. You can't beat it. Go to cornholelevel.com for your cornhole board leveler. You got to have it. It's a good gag gift. It's a good gift because it makes the board right. If you hate cornhole, you can give it to your friend who likes it to bust his balls. If you love cornhole, how could Chris? You wouldn't embarrass yourself by having an uneven cornhole level. Well, like
come on now,
you got to level the board. My
cornhole is very even, Steven, exactly, right down the middle.
You know what Chris? Despite what they say about you, you got it. Your cornhole is always level, bro. And I appreciate that. And they sponsor my NFL stinks list, the final one, because we can't really do it for the playoffs, although we might if someone gets blown out. I was thinking about putting TCU on this list. Good God, that's another story. Anyway, all right, here we go. Buffalo Bills, very good. Dolphins, average. Barely gave them an average. Patriots stink. Jets stink. Bengals, very good. Ravens, average. Steelers, average. Cleveland Browns, stink. Jacksonville Jaguars, average. Titans, Colts, Texans, I want to put a RS, really stink. Kansas City Chiefs, very good. Chargers, average. I hated to do that because I hate the Chargers. Vegas Raiders and Denver Broncos, stink. The Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to put them at very good, but that was a hesitant. That was like, all right, they only lost 3 games. I got to give it to them. Cowboys, I almost reduced the Cowboys to average. I really did. I just don't like the way they're playing sometimes. But I gave them a good. I gave the Giants a good. You know what? They made the playoffs, so they're good. Washington Commanders, average. I thought they played pretty well at the end, and they kicked the shit out of the Cowboys. Minnesota Vikings, I'm only giving them a good. Don't know why. Maybe because the Giants play them in the first round. I don't feel like playing a very good team, so I'm only playing a good team.
Well, they're not very good.
That's true. Everybody says it. Detroit Lions, I give them a good.
They're just simply not very good.
The Lions game, I know they hurt your boys, but and I had to put the Packers at stink because they didn't make the playoffs, and you got Aaron Rodgers. So
I'm okay with it. It does not matter.
And the Chicago Bears stink. Tampa Bay, I think Tampa Bay really. The people that think that Brady's going to beat the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, they stink, bro.
Here's the thing: Brady might not, but if Dak does what he does, and that Tampa Bay defense is up and down, they're very, very, very much more up at home than down.
There's been a ton of Bucs games on the air. A couple of games he won in the last minute.
Would it really surprise you if when you look back on Tuesday morning and you're like, oh, Tom Brady's in the second round? I don't care.
Of course. But I think they stink, and I think the Cowboys are going to win, actually. And the Panthers, Saints, Falcons all stink.
I do as
49ers, well. 49ers are at the very good level. Even though I got teams at the very good, to me, there's only really the 2 elite teams in the league are really the Chiefs and the 49ers right now. Those are the teams that are really playing well. And the Seahawks I have is good. They made the playoffs, 9-8. They got in, did what they had to do, took care of business. And I got the Rams and the Cardinals as really stinks. So that's it. End of the season, the final stinks list. We'll have a mini stinks list next week. 16 stinks, 6 averages, 5 goods, and 5 very goods. Now, I can go back to week 1, which I got right here, if everybody just stares with me for 1 second. And here it is, the first week. Let me see, Chris, how good your memory is here at Shea. Let's see, week 1. Wow. What do I have? I have anybody that stink. No, Broncos and Raiders stink. I have the Chargers as average. Chiefs were still very good. What do I have your Packers at?
Oh, they got beat week 1. They stunk. They got beat by Minnesota.
Yeah, Packers stink. Lions stink. I had the Giants as average. Cowboys as stink. That's so funny. Eagles as only average, so all the different things. So there was only 13 stinks. And of course, they came on to be 16 stinks. So that's it. Final stink list. God bless America from the Omni. That's my final thing there. Now, there's been somebody very patient, waiting for me. I have a unique guest coming up here. And now, I love having a guest like this. And I say this all the time. Even though I know this guy, right? And I'm doing a show with him on Saturday night from downtown Seaside Heights. I don't really know a lot about him. I've done some shows with him in the past years ago when he was kind of a rookie stand-up, as was I, kind of. Veteran performer, but not more on the rookie side, a newbie, as I should say. And I'm going to have him on the show now because we're doing a show, and we're going to find out all about this guy and all his crazy shit. I'm going to bring him right on. Here we go, everybody.
What's
Ruane Maher, what's up, man? This is Chris.
What's going
my co-host
on
here. What's happening?
Yeah,
Chris?
Nice to meet you. And I just want to say, Jimmy, for those that felt like they missed out when you didn't do any sports last week, you more than made up for it this week. That was incredible.
Yeah,
man.
I went. I can't believe I just went 36 minutes. I made you wait. That's sad.
No, I don't.
We had some things to get to.
Tuesday afternoon. I got nowhere
you know
to
what?
be,
There was a lot going on with the Giants and Packers, and I had to do double with the last week. So yeah, anybody who's not a sports
what I
fan,
love that you said though. I got to give you all the credit in the world because I absolutely love that you said this when you said to your co-host Chris, you're like, to be honest, I didn't even want to do the show last week because sometimes you feel that way. I've done different podcast projects over the years, and it's like I don't want to do it.
I mean, we just didn't want to do it. You know, it was like the
I felt like that. Like at right around today at like 1 o'clock.
Chris feels that. Chris feels that way every day. Chris just wants to go get a job on the railroad and just work and come home and.
Well, that's what I did. I had that railroad. I had that railroad job for a couple of years with New Jersey Transit. You don't want that job, Chris. So
all right. Now Chris is a big time podcaster now. Well, listen. Let's see. So Ryan, all right, we're doing a show Saturday night. Okay.
Absolutely.
At the Ocean View, which it looks like to be a really cool joint. I look forward to doing that with you. I'm kind of hosting, which I'm usually never done. So that ought to be interesting. So let me ask you, like, first of all, where are you from, man? Where were you born, raised, that whole bit?
Born in Hudson County, North Bergen area. Grew up, down the shore for the most part. Went to high school in Ocean County. Good old Monsignor Donovan there. So that's why Seaside was always a cool spot for me because when you're growing up on the Jersey Shore, 15 years old, you dream about getting messed up at Bamboo. Rest in peace, Bamboo.
Bamboo.
Yeah, man. So they're going through a whole redevelopment project, and the Ocean View is one of the first new places that's going to be opening there over the next couple of years, and it's a great joint. And looking forward to the first show. It's the first ever comedy show they've done there, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
And so Jimmy Palumbo and Ryan doing the first ever. If that goes on to be like a major staple of comedy, somewhere there'll be a little shitty plaque just before you go into the bathroom that says January 14th, 2023. Ryan Maher, and my letter will be like in fine pica elite on the bottom. Jimmy Palumbo. They should put a box score. I'll probably go 3 for 4. So that's great. I look forward to doing that now. So you graduated high school. Did you go to college? Did you get right into comedy? Where did you end up?
I did a community college. Then I worked in radio for a little bit. I worked 5 doing some interning, promotion, stuff like that. And then I went the safe route. I took the job at New Jersey Transit as a train conductor, and I was just miserable. I was 22 years old, and so
you were an actual conductor on New Jersey Transit?
Yeah, Jimmy, that was dead serious. When you said work on the railroad, he was like, no, I did that already.
Listen, I didn't even know you worked on it. I was just using it like, that's weird. See, the stars were aligning right there. So you were actually one of those, you were a conductor. You weren't the jerk off ticket taker guy, right? With
absolutely. With the polyester suit and the Liza Minnelli hat.
Oh, that's great. What a jerk off. I love that. How long did you do that for?
I did it for about 5 years, and I had started in comedy about a year in, just going to open mics and stuff. And then, I started to get paid gigs relatively quickly. And when I say paid, like $50 spot here, $20 spot there.
Believe me.
But then it got to a point where I was
about the same amount you're paying me on Saturday.
Yeah.
I Palumbo with a left hook here at Shea.
Don't get too excited. No, but honestly, it got to a point where I hated the job, and I'd be calling out to do some of these comedy gigs on the road, and on the road at that point it was like middle of Pennsylvania, stuff like that, and I just was like, what, I got to take a chance and go for it, and it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. It wasn't a very hard decision to make.
Now, well, first of all, I got to ask you something though. I don't know what your family situation is, but there had to be some older jerk off going, you stick with the union, you get a pension, there had to be some resistance at the top of your food chain saying, what are you doing? Was anybody like that?
There was a little bit of that, but funny you should mention it, because your boy Artie, when he had the Artie Lang show on DirecTV, we talked about that on the show, and he said it best. He said there's certain people that the grass is always greener. I was 22. As working, right. Like at one point I worked 72 days in a row because you had no seniority, you're on the extra list. And there were people that were like, you're 22, when are you going to have a life? You're too young for this. And then when I quit at 26, it was, oh my God, you're 26, you're giving up that job. So, you can't listen to shit like that. You got to follow.
Right. I know. Hey, listen, I was working at a little company called Microsoft in 1990. So I consider myself a career. I should do career advice. Leave a company that'll make you $2 million on paper, or get into showbiz. All right. So then let's see. Now, where did you first start doing stand-up? Where was your first gig?
So there was this company that was renting Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club on Tuesday nights, just renting the room. And they were doing this kind of competition thing. And I didn't know it was a competition. I just thought it was an open mic. And I wound up winning that competition. And then I started working for Uncle Vinny's as a host, MC, and then travel and doing the road and all that. And that's when I actually worked with you. I mean, because Beer League came out, 2005 or so, around there?
Yeah, I had just gotten off of Beer League. I was doing the Scott Farrell show. I did a couple of shows down at Uncle Vinny's, got to know Dino and his brother. And he opened up another room there at the Holiday Inn. I did a show at Florentine. And you were
on that show as the host. Yeah.
You were the host?
I was the host on that show, and it's funny because that only lasted like 2 or 3 shows. The second or third show, I was Mike.
You understand something? Back then, I was so nervous, and for some reason, I was nervous to be doing a show with Florentine, who's an old buddy of mine now. But I was so nervous, like there's no way I would even remember the host, like. And no, not that a disrespect to you. I was probably.
Believe me, I'm not offended.
I probably had the shits. I was probably in the side room, going into the bathroom, worried about I got pee stains on my pants from pissing and shit and being so nervous. Even though I've been doing it a while, I still get nervous now, but I really got nervous back then. So you did those shows.
You're not the first actor turned comedian that said that. But what I find interesting now is that, like, if you look at nowadays, there's so many people that don't even have your showbiz background that are getting into it. I mean, there's literally, men and women that put up TikTok videos that go viral. They got 20 minutes to do a stand-up show. It's like, it's
right.
So
then what happens is then you go to the stand-up show and everybody walks out going, he's funnier on TikTok. That was a terrible show. Because you can't be, listen, I'm not judging any stand-ups. Well, whoever can make money doing it, God bless. But it takes a while to put all the shit together. And I some of my bits, like, I don't want to say my bits are great, but if they were like at a 3, it took me like years to get them up to a 7. Yeah. But some people, you just can't. I mean, there are people that are brilliant overnight. It just happens that way. Same thing with sports, guys just comes to them. But it's a you got to log in your time for sure. So, all right, you start doing Uncle Vinny's, you're jerking around. Now, I did a show with you down by the racetrack in Monmouth, in that town off of exit like 100. It was a restaurant.
It's funny because I don't remember that.
Yeah, you were it's not that you weren't friendly with me. You were busy because we were in the corner. It was a crowded room. You were doing your thing. I came in. I just did my thing, and I got it on tape somewhere. I think I had such a. The audience was weird. Like you did just okay, and in my mind, I remember going, because you went up first. You were like running the night. I remember you being up first, but there
was a place for a little while that
in Tinton Falls. That was it. Tinton Falls. CJ
Montana's.
Yeah, that's it. And you were like, it was like your show kind of. And I remember that, like, you just did okay. And I usually sometimes go, oh, it's good when the guy before you just does okay. You can come in and let the world know. And then I backed it up with a chopper to second, fielded cleanly, fired across the diamond, or 2 away. And then you actually finished pretty strong. You went on, I think you might have even headlined it after me. It was like your world, that whole thing. But the audience, I remember
I just want to clarify. It was not my world. It was the person who hooked it. But a lot of those, taught me lessons when I went out to start producing shows. Yeah. Because, that person who booked that, I won't say his name because you're still friends with him. But, a lot of these guys, and you've seen it in this business all the time, what they do is they just, all right, this is the pay, go do the gig. But there's nothing set up. You don't know if there's a working microphone. And my whole belief is that if I promote something to the public, I want it to be a professional show. I want there to be a backdrop.
Yeah, I remember the stage was like in the corner. We were kind of jammed. It was something weird about it. I remember it was one of those shows that, listen, I mean, you probably did better than I remember. Again, I was pissing and shitting at myself before the show, as always back then. But yeah, we worked together on that show, and that's why I started to follow you on early social media. And I feel like I know you because of that. So anyway, you start doing that, and then what? So now what I love about you is your posts on Facebook, and please go to his Ryan Maher page on Facebook, Instagram. You Uber and stuff like that, and your posts on Ubering are funny, man. Especially, I love it during July and August when you pick up the assholes coming from, say the Bamboo Bar to DJs, from DJs to Legates. You get these drunk girls in and drunk guys, and your commentary on. It's almost as if you pull over right after letting them out and you write stuff like, okay, I just picked up 3 guys and here, and you do it. Yeah. I wish you had your own podcast on that. I would love that. When did you start? Like, how long you been Ubering, and when did you realize it was comedy gold?
I was doing a show at Helium Comedy Club in Philly, and the headliner who I was working with was from San Francisco, and he was talking about it. And I want to say this was around 2013 or whatever, and it wasn't available yet here in Jersey. They became available like around 2014 or 15. I didn't have a car at that time that was eligible for it. I had a Ford Mustang convertible. Got rid of the Mustang eventually.
That's not a good Uber car.
No, definitely not. You got to have the 4 doors. I mean, although nowadays I heard they've changed the limitations on what your car can be, but I just thought this would be a great way to make money when I'm not doing stand-up. And you know how it is. I mean, sometimes you'll get these gigs that are out in Philly or North Jersey, you're done 10, 11 o'clock, turn the Uber on, make another $200-300, dollars.
Listen, I've bartended, I've Ubered, I've DoorDashed. I get it. You can make your own schedule. You want to just you're sitting around for 2 hours waiting to do something. You drop your kid off at something, you have 2 or 3 hours, you can go out and make a few bucks. So I get it. I think it's great.
Yeah. So I started doing it around 2016. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. No, you go.
No, so I started around 2016, and it's been great. It was especially great during the pandemic, where as the way that we make a living in this stand-up game was pretty much shut down. I mean, I was fortunate enough to be able to go out to Florida a lot and get some work, but when I was here, I mean, it really got me through. And there are still times where it does, because you know how it is. I mean, there'll be some months where you can have every weekend booked solid, and then there's other months where you got 1 gig, 2 gigs, and you got to make ends meet otherwise.
Listen. In showbiz, there's nothing solid. And I mean that even if you become a star and then you start to acquire infrastructure, then your show gets canceled, and all of a sudden, shit, should I really have bought that $1 million house? Now I gotta, now I gotta get another show.
I've never had that problem.
No, but you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It never goes away at every level. You're either trying to get enough money to pay your rent or eat, or you're trying to figure out a way to, do this, that, and the other thing. So that's showbiz thing. So now your comedy. Let's talk about your comedy. So you've done the Florida circuit. How did that go this year? Last couple of years of the pandemic?
It was good. I mean, I was able to go out there, and there's a lot of comics that I've gotten to know over the years that were originally from New York or New Jersey that relocated out there even prior to the pandemic, and they built up a lot of connections and stuff like that. So they were able to talk to some club owners and some bookers. And what I did notice out there, especially during the pandemic, was, I remember like I was doing the Laugh-In Comedy Cafe in Fort Myers, and I heard, tonight there's going to be 2 guest spots. And when you hear guest spots, sometimes in New York or New Jersey, you start to get a little nervous because you're like, oh, what's this going to be like? But out there were so many great comics that would drive 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours for these 7-minute guest spots, and they were great. They were great comics.
Well,
they really,
I agree with you, especially on the East Coast. I got a gig in Naples.
Okay.
I can't think of the name of the comedy club. It's a big one there, though. It's the biggest one in.
Is it Off the Hook?
Yeah, Off the Hook. Beautiful room, good food, and I got a guest spot there, and they gave me a few bucks. And but the thing was, nobody knew me there, and I always mix showbiz with sports. So I'm like, hey, this is the first time performing in Florida. This room is packed on a Wednesday night. There must have been 70, 80 people, full bore eating, beautiful stage. The food, I was talking to a guy who was walking in early. He's like, yeah, I come here for, it's dinner. The food's great. And then comics go on. He goes, the food here is as good as any restaurant around here. So
you might be talking about Visani's. Was that where you were at?
No. This was Off the Hook. The food it was good for a comedy club. And, but dude, so what happened was I'm thinking that everybody, like this was a big comedy club and everybody was, I assumed everybody was a D1, prospect. And dude, the host came on, and all due respect to this guy, this was his spot, he was relaxed. And I was like, so he gets off the stage to that like applause, like he was like, not knowing, here's a new guy here. We don't know who he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Palumbo. Dude, I did like a 12-minute spot. It was like Hagler Hearns. I was just rocking it, blah, blah, blah. And I was classic comic moment. You feel so good about yourself. And guess what happens? I walked out. The booker didn't say anything. The owner didn't say anything. Hey, Jimmy, how long are you in town for? Love to see you again. Haven't heard from any one of them. I sent them an email. Nothing. So classic example. You go, you kick ass, and you walked out. But one of the comedians was telling me that they do they go up to Fort Myers and the town above that, and they drive all the way down to it's like a Naples. What are the towns? Naples, Fort Myers is another one.
Cape Coral.
Tampa, St. Pete. And he said there's like 6 pretty good comedy clubs, and there's a bunch of rooms in each one. And it was like in the middle of the pandemic. Oh no, just after the pandemic. And it was really cool to talk to the comedians, and they just drive up and down. Just such a different egg down there than in New York. There's no question about it.
And what also was nice about it too was, I mean, this was like, I was out there in the heart of the lockdown where people from New Jersey that knew you were going up there were looking at you like you were a piece of shit. Like, oh, you're going out to Florida. And sure enough, I did a Thursday night show at that Laugh-In, and there was a couple that came up to me afterwards, and they were like, oh, nice show. And I said, oh, thank you for coming out. And the woman says to me, she goes, it was our 70th wedding anniversary last week. And I said, pardon me, but how old are you? And she goes, my husband and I are both 92. And I'm thinking to myself,
shit,
here's this couple. They're 92 years old. They're out on, I guess it was like a Thursday night show. They're having cocktails. They're enjoying life. And then I'm coming back to Jersey where people in their 40s and 50s are like, oh my God, put your mask on. So it was just wild to me to see that whole dichotomy. I felt like I was coming to the country when I come back to Jersey. It was weird.
Right. Well, I look at it another way. I feel very bad. I guess they don't get along with their children anymore because if they've been, was it their anniversary? So they're
no,
I was
going
to say, because if it was their anniversary, how does that conversation go? Hey, Mom, Dad, what are you guys doing for your 70th? Oh, we're going to go see Ryan Maher over at the Laugh-In. That's a good, really. Or I think
we want to hear dick jokes from a guy from Jersey. Yeah,
we're gonna go there. We're gonna get dick jokes from a guy from New Jersey while we're 92 years old, celebrating our final years. I love it. But that's great. I know what you mean. Though it was different world there. That's great. I'm glad you did that. Where do you mostly perform now? Would you say consistently?
Well, I mean, I started to branch out and do other things as well. I started wedding officiating a couple years ago, which was another thing that kept me very busy during the pandemic. Our buddy Steve Trevelise, who actually told me to tell you hello, he wrote a nice article about me.
Steve Trevelise, 101.5. He's great guy.
Yeah,
really ambassador to comedy.
Yeah, wrote a nice article about me on New Jersey 101.5 about wedding officiating. A lot of couples reached out to me through that because again, with the pandemic, everything had cancellations or whatever. I run trivia nights. I do bar bingo. I mean, I do anything I can to avoid having a real job at this point. That's listen. I give you credit, and you run a pretty cool show at one of the
one of the bigger clubs on the Jersey Shore down in Point Pleasant. Not the Tiki Bar, the Jenkins Tiki Bar, the Jenkinsons, and
right next door.
I ran into you the last time I saw you. I just happened to duck in. I was down there for a couple days, and those shows were pretty good. I mean, I heard a couple friends of mine went as guests, and I knew you had a nice bunch of comedians that were performing. You had a really nice lineup. Was it 6 weeks you did it, or 5? Was it
well,
3
so
months?
it was weird. So when I left the club that I was working at for many years, I was like, it would be kind of cool to do things somewhere close by. And I always loved growing up those old Dangerfield specials on HBO where Rodney would host, and he would bring up, different friends of his, comedians that he admired. And I liked it because I said, you know what, instead of having these people come see me try to do the same hour, because we had this conversation on the phone last week. I write a lot, you like to write, but no one's churning out a new hour every year unless they're Bill Burr or Chappelle.
Right.
So I like the idea of being able to host a show, work out some new material, and bring up, 2 solid feature tracks and a headliner. So that's what we started doing in 2018. We started with 3 shows. 2019, they bumped me up to 6. 2020, we had 9 scheduled. We lost all of them because of the lockdown. And then I came back in 2021 with 9. Last year, we did 5. And I think this year, we're going to start talking about it probably in the next couple of weeks, figuring out the details. I might go with like 4 or 5 because it is a lot. There's a lot of promotion that goes into it. But yeah, I'm a big believer in, booking professional comics and giving them a great show,
Maybe I'll do one of those shows. My brother's got a house down there. I can always crash down there and we'll go bust balls. Yeah, I love that concept, doing that. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on. Anything else? So what's your Instagrams, TikToks, Twitter, Shitter, Facebook?
Yeah, the Instagram Maher Comedy, Ruane Maher Comedy. That's where I pretty much put most of my stuff up nowadays. I'm still on Facebook and all that. But yes, Saturday night, the Ocean View Restaurant, 8 p.m. They've been promoting it hard. I think we're going to have a really nice turnout. I know we're going to have fun regardless. Emily Page is also on the show. She's great. You'll like her. Yeah, so looking forward to it.
I think I met her once. I can't wait. I look forward to going down there. Should be a good time. And the place looks really like an old school resort. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Right off the water there.
It's beautiful. We're up in the banquet room. I actually did a wedding there a couple ago. It was a great time. So I'm looking forward to it.
A friend of mine's going to be there. His band played there on last Friday. I got to give him a call. I worked with him 30 years ago selling computers. His band played there Friday, and we're going to talk, and he's going to show up with his wife.
I will say that
it's going to be there.
One of the great things about, and again, I'll have to come back on some other time when you have more time, because we have a lot of commonalities with the whole Jersey Shore thing. I have gotten more comments about you being on this show. Have really nothing to do with your acting career or a comedy career. Just people, somebody who I grew up with, RJ Hager. He's like, oh, Jimmy Pillow, his father built my lifeguard stand. I'm definitely coming. Like stories like that. Or
my dad built. My brother had a house by Lavalette, Normandy Shores.
Okay, yeah.
And they needed a new life. Chris, you'll love this. They needed a new lifeguard chair. Now, my dad was old school. They have to fold this thing down and drag it back. So my father was thinking, well, I got to make this thing solid because it's on the water, on the beach. He made this thing like an aircraft carrier. And when it was gorgeous when they first built it, right? He painted it, made sure it was bolted, but he used like 2x6s. So I remember the first summer, my dad was so proud of it. And, it was really cool. I watched 2 girls trying to drag it backwards. It was like, we had to have like 9
a beached
people.
whale, not an actual lifeguard.
Beached whale. And I was like, Dad, maybe you should have made it a little lighter to drag. The waves come in and hit it. I'm like, Dad, the waves don't hit the chair. He was acting like it was like a canoe being launched to go to Europe on,
And I also got
that's great. I can't believe that.
I also got a random message today on Facebook after I plugged that I was going to be on here that somebody says they remember you from your 2nd Avenue house in Manasquan years ago. And they said, so yeah, that's what I love about this.
I was on 2nd Ave, 3rd Ave, and 4th Ave. I was a 16-year veteran. I stayed way too long at the dance down there. My pictures on the wall at Leggett's and the Osprey and going over the bridge to the Tiki Bar and Jenkinson's.
Hey, man, you did it right.
I go back to, Reggie's and shit like that, and Casablanca's. I don't know if you remember those places.
Well, no,
back in the day.
Casablanca. I was a little too young for Casablanca, but my buddy Carl was one of the owners there. Carl Adamo, who was another guy.
Right. And then he made millions of dollars, and there's like 70 condos there now. Everybody's like, you ever see those dumb people? How could they close Casablanca? I'll tell you why. Some developer wrote a check for $10 million for 50 acres, and there's 100 buildings in there now where people live. But yeah, I miss those kind of bars. Sunday afternoons at Casablanca's was a lot of fun.
I've heard the
Reggie's
stories.
bar Reggie's was great, and you got Key Largo and Montego Bay. DJs is still there, and so yeah, Osprey and Leggett's. Of course, Leggett's, my boy Keith bartending down there. Keith at the bar at Leggett's?
I'm sure if I saw him, I would, but I'm laughing when you talk.
Bald guy.
I'm laughing about you mentioning Montego Bay because I remember probably about a year or two ago, Mike Marino put up some like old home videos from Montego.
It's great.
Bay.
He's got.
That was great.
Mike, if you're listening, Mike's got like hundreds of videos from the 80s in all those clubs, like video. And I'm like, dude, some reality show's got to take that. It should be on one of those shitty channels like Vice, and they should call it like assholes on the Jersey, the real Jersey assholes.
But I'm laughing
shorts,
too,
the girls with the hair. It's awesome.
Because from the time frame that video exists, like that means that one of his buddies had to be walking around with like those giant VHS.
That's what
cameras.
It was.
They
walked into the bar with it. It's crazy. Chris, I got to show you clips. You'll die. Your mother and father will die laughing. They're going to be like, that's exactly what it was like. It was the big hair, the lipstick, that like pink crazy lipstick. And just the girls were, of course, you look at them now, they're like, is that girl hot? Like at the time that was considered hot, but a good looking girl is a good looking girl. And the guys wearing these tight shorts, it looks like it's like the Chippendales going on over there at the bar, but we all had them. And those OP shorts, the corduroy OPs, which somebody said they're making a comeback, which I find. You see me in a pair of corduroy shorts. I saw them at a place, and the girl said, yeah, these are coming back. I'm like, corduroy shorts are coming back. I love it.
Every guy wanted to be Magnum PI. She was Tawny Katane, man.
Yeah.
What time to be
the wide collar shirts with the glasses. Oh my God. There I was, all 5'5" of me trying to get a base hit against some tall blonde down at Montego Bay or Key Largo. Key Largo used to have 25-cent beers. Chris, how about this? Drive down the shore from 4 to 8, 25-cent beers.
Did they have 25-cent beers for like the first 20 minutes?
No, Chris.
Like that concept?
What it was
couldn't get a beer now for $6.
I know. It was like, get everybody in. And then you know what happened? It was so crowded, you only end up having like 4 or 5 beers, right? And then there were so many girls in there, you stayed and I remember getting home one night and being like, how did we spend $150? And the first half of the evening was 25-cent beers. Like, how did we go wrong on this, I think it's illegal to do that. Of course, I was throwing money all over the place. Big shot, man, you know what I mean? Well, listen, I love it. We probably have a million common friends, and I'll have you on again.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially if I do something this summer with you down at Jenks, if you got room for me, I'll come on again and promote the shit out of it. But that's it. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, guys.
That's it, everybody. Ryan Maher, go check out his stuff and come down to the Ocean View Saturday night, January 14th. Getting involved, and I got to make sure I post some stuff on it. And we'll talk later on about ticket sales and all that other crap. All right.
Sounds good, man. Thank you.
I got disconnected there for a second. All right. So anyway, all right. I'll talk to you later on, man. Peace. Thanks for coming on the show. Buddy. You got it. All right, everybody. Ryan Maher. Well, that was this show is going long for some reason. Not that I care. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the last one we do. This is sponsored by ChasingMiracles.com. Christopher, hydration water packs. You got to give Donna and Tommy a call. Get in touch with them. This stuff delivers over 70 trace minerals into your water. You drop the bag in a water bottle, shake it up, you drink it, you're good to go. It's good for workouts, athletes, diet, enhances performances, advances all the alkaline in your body. It's good stuff. It's just kind of a new age thing that people really believe in, getting the proper water and hydration. And also you open up the pack after it's done and sprinkle it on your vegetables in your garden. And there's tons of other uses for it. I wonder if you can swallow the stuff. Probably can't. But go check it out at ChasingMiracles.com. Get in touch with Donna and Tommy. They will love you, and it's cool stuff. What else we got here? I guess we really got to talk. This show's going long, I know, but we got to talk about Beer League. So tomorrow is exciting stuff. We have a 7 a.m. call. We got most of the cast there. The script is being tweaked. I think it's pretty funny. There's a little bit of buzz on it on the internet. We got it. We're going to have Joe Latrulio is going to be on it, and Maddie Corman and Anthony DeSando, Manganelli getting involved, Alex Corrado, Michael Deege getting involved, my Patreon subscriber, Elizabeth Regan playing Maz's wife. That's Ralph Macchio's wife. And Mary Birdsong playing Rhonda from the bar, which is cool. And Jerry Miner playing Tim. And also Tom Bolster and Tony Menudo, who are from Game Day, which was the direct video that led to Beer League. Go on the YouTube and look up Game Day Part 1 and 2 with Artie Lang. You're going to love that. And check that out. So we're excited, man. I mean, look. We're shooting some kind of, I don't want to, listen, it's called Beer League 2, but really it's Beer League, whatever, revisited and stuff. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little nervous. I got a lot of lines. It's definitely Johnny Trino hour there. I got a lot of parts. But I think if you're a fan of Beer League and a fan of Assholes from Jersey, I think people are going to enjoy this. I really do. It should be fun. See everybody, and it's being produced by Unhinged Entertainment.
How many days do you have that you're scheduled to shoot? Just the one right now?
One.
So it's going to be a busy one.
We got just going to be Mariano Rivera's coming in the first. We decided to just pitch Mariano for Game 7. That's really all it is. See how long can you go, Mo? We'll deal with it later. That's what it is. It's being produced by Unhinged Entertainment, Greg Alprin, myself, and also Tom Baldinger from 624 Productions. He'll be directing as well. Me and him wrote the script along with Greg as well. And it's going to be really cool. We're doing behind the scenes stuff. And I got a bunch of shit from Beer League that I have in a bin that I'm bringing. We're going to be doing stuff. And I think the behind the scenes stuff may be even funnier. It's being shot over at Stand Up New York. If anybody's around, wants to knock on the door and hop in somehow, just tell them you're a fan of Jimmy Palumbo or buddy of Jimmy Palumbo. And I'll see if I can get you in. You can see if I can get you as an extra. But I really look forward to it. I want to also mention, my friend, another sponsor, Lisa Ruane, certified therapist, 201-725-1251. She specializes in therapy for 18 and over. She's great. She's really good at the hypnotherapy thing. She's a great person to talk to. If you're in a jam, you're not feeling well, give her a call. She'll talk you through it, and you go see her. I know we got a big mental health issue in this country, and Lisa's one of the people that's in business to try to help you out if you need it. So give Lisa Ruane a call, 201-725-1251. And I guess I got to wrap this up quickly. We're going long today. Sorry about that, Chris, but it doesn't matter. I got my physical today. I mean, I started this is like the week of doctors. When you go I got to get the blood work first, and tomorrow I do the physical. But you know what happens when you go early morning for the blood work? You got to pee in a cup, but you already peed in the morning. You go into the bathroom and pee in the cup, and it's like, I got like stage fright. I'm like, I can't pee. I was like trying I was drinking water, I couldn't pee. But I finally, after like third down and 13, I
went and had blood work done. And I thought I had a couple tests that I had to have taken. And I got him so confused that I was like, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to eat for. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. So I was like, I'm just going to not do anything at all day, because I called and it was a recording. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fast. I think I got to fast. I get there. I'm starving. I haven't drinking all day. And she's like, oh, no, you need to drink. You could have eaten. She's like, you could eat. So I fasted for 18 hours and didn't drink water all day. My appointment was at 4 p.m. I'm mad at my girlfriend. I'm like, why would you make it for 4 p.m. if I have to fast? Like, I got to go through all day without eating.
Right. That's why I always do it early in the morning, because you go to bed and get you through.
On all fronts. She made the appointment on the right time. I could have eaten. I yelled at her for making me fast, all that. And,
listen, you're still a youngster, but now when you get your physical and blood work, old timers like me, I get nervous now. Like, I always feel like we're going to find some bad shit in my blood.
I understand that you think that I'm so young, and I appreciate that, but I'm headed down a dark path lately in terms of feeling very old.
I mean, listen, when I do my blood work, they label it like, as if I'm one of those
biohazard.
It's like, Jim, it's like I'm like the Paulie and Rocky. I'm like a young Burgess Meredith when I sign for this shit. But I also got my skin test this morning. I go to a skin doctor once a year because you get these Irish spots all over. You think, oh shit, I'm going to be dead in a year. And that's a weird thing, man. You got to dress down to your underwear. There's like 3 women in the room and this guy, and he looks over every crevice on your body with this giant light. It's the oddest thing. But you know what? They say if they find something, and one time they found a little something, they had to put a little cream on it, and it turned out everything okay. But I was like, it's just a weird thing.
I just want to know, like, with someone like me, you would be there realistically looking at me with like the amount of freckles or non-freckles that you could consider.
Right, but they know
like
the difference.
They'd be there
bro.
for 3 days. 4
well,
days.
They these guys they're good at it. And by the way, the light.
That's not even talking about my asshole. I'm talking about just.
Listen, but your cornhole is level though. We went through that. But bring the show underground right there. There we go. Also, I want to let everybody know my guest last week, Joshua Riccardi, had a really good outing with his cornhole and beer pong event. At least 80 people showed up. That's really cool. So I told him I'd give him a shout out. And we'll wrap up really quick. George and Tammy, have you been watching that show yet? The one about George Jones and Tammy Wynette. It's on HBO.
When you say yet,
you should watch this one. It's good. It's good.
If Ashley puts a gun to my forehead and says you're watching this show or you die, then I'll watch. I think
Ashley will like it. It's listen. Everybody knows and follows country. George Jones was a drinker, but I didn't realize what a complete drug addict Tammy Wynette was. She was doing like hard drugs with needles and shit, and she only died at 54 or 55. And George Jones had outlived her, believe it or not. But I enjoyed that show. I want to talk really quickly about Tulsa King. Remember we talked about Yellowstone and how people are getting murdered, and it's like, oh well, it's in what do you call it, Montana, and so or whatever, and so there's no law there. Well, I'm starting to get annoyed at that now. Like, there's people getting killed in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and like Tulsa, Oklahoma is a big city, and like when you get just because you're an Italian guy from the East, when you get when like 7 people get killed, that's all over the news. But in these shows, I guess that's the heightened reality. It's like, oh, it's in Oklahoma. Same thing. And I noticed the trend between Yellowstone, Ozark, and now Tulsa King. It's like, no, there are good detectives there. Like they saw like the murders in Iowa, middle of nowhere. Like they nailed the guy. FBI gets involved and TSA and CIA. And if 8 people get killed in a bar, that makes almost CNN really. You know what I mean? So that's one thing I think they got to get away from. They can keep the drama. And another thing, since I love Dominic Lombardozzi and I love the show, I love watching Stallone. Dominic Lombardozzi is playing the heavy in the show. The main, the mob guy. And I sometimes think it's Dominic, like it's not the character. So there's a scene at the end here, the last episode, where Stallone really gives Dominic shit, like gets in his face. And I'm like, there's no way Stallone should be talking to Dominic like that. Like, I actually lost. I was like, I guess I got to call Dominic and say, dude, what the fuck is Stallone talking that way? And I'm like, wait a minute. It's a fucking TV show. He's playing a character. But I really thought like Dominic was going to punch him in the face, as I know he would if someone really screamed at him like that. And I was like, oh, man. So I'm curious how, I sent Dominic a text and we had a few laughs over it. It's one of those shows where I'm buddies with him. So like when I see him, it takes me out of the moment. I hate when it's cool to see people, on TV, but also, I have a friend of mine who's a doctor. When she saw me on ER, she's like, I can't watch the show anymore. I think that's all real. Those people are real. And here comes Jimmy Palumbo sliding through the ER. She's like, what the fuck are you doing in that hospital? That's a real hospital. Anyway, so that's it. Also, go check out the Pine Tar Bar and Grill down in Forked River, 121 Main Street, Pine Tar Bar and Grill, 609-489-4286. Now, Chris, I want to try something. Last thing. There's a new thing on this service I'm on here where I can show my reel. I'm going to click it. If it doesn't work, we'll just sign off. Ready? Let me know if you can see this.
Everything okay? It's all straightened out?
Straightened out what?
I gave the other doorman, the heavyset guy with the glasses.
So this is me.
I gave him $20. I told him to give you 10. You didn't get the $10?
No.
In other words, he's got the $10 now, and he chose not to give it to you. Is that what you're saying?
What you're saying. I'm saying I didn't get $10 from him.
Honey,
Honey, I swear I wasn't looking at her.
She's in labor. You like that, you sick son of a bitch?
I'm just gonna...
See, it's because you were looking, you fat pervert.
Hey, guys.
Hey, here we go.
Check it out.
Italiano Mick.
My new Italiano Mick.
That's cool, Alphonse.
How much of a Guido can you possibly be? I can't deal with it. It's over. This is the first chick you've ever been serious about. Come on, you finally met a broad, doesn't care about your drinking, or the fact that you're 35 years old and you still live with your mom. And she doesn't mind that a man of your weight should be about 6'2". Plus you factor in the herpes thing, and then...
Asshole!
55,000 on hand for Johnny Trino. Bobblehead day here. I mean, it's a great day for the kids. All fans 16 and under will get one.
Sandy's as well as can be expected. This dog's been sick for months. He did everything he could, but he finally succumbed. Made it to 19. That's pretty good for a dog. But you know what? Next month, Sandy's gonna be out here for the Celebrity Pro-Am. He's favored as usual, healthy as a clam. Maybe you guys can catch him then.
Hey, Tommy, not too much garlic on a calzone.
Okay.
Hey, can I see those?
Why?
I'd like to see where he went before he got to my house.
She was a
Are
kid.
you a cop?
My son is currently studying at a local pizza academy.
Really? Which one?
New York Pizza Academy.
So, what fraternity are you pledging?
There are no fraternities at New York Pizza Academy.
That's right. You correctly answered my trick question.
Well, look at that there, Christopher. Did that look okay? I don't know how that looked for anybody.
Yeah, it came through my part clean.
I now know how to do that. So we will be after we shoot tomorrow, I'm gonna take some backstage stuff and we're gonna put that on next week. All right, that's enough. There's a long show. Sorry about that, everybody. I just had to catch up on some stuff. And I will I'll be talking to you, Chris, soon enough. And I will talk to you next week with a very special guest. It's actually, I know who it is. It's gonna be Michael Deej, Alphonse from Beer
There you go.
League. All right, we'll see you.
All right, guys.